Welcome to All Things Wellington 2021, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. First, I want to give a shout out to our dining partners. I'm so glad we were able to support our Wellington community. I hope you enjoyed some nice meals with friends and Wellington colleagues and classmates. I love that we were able to pull together and re-envision this night. It's Jags Everywhere restaurant style. I also want to highlight that All Things Wellington 21 will look a little bit different this year, and that's an exciting change, I think. We will have some video presentations, and I'll be joined with a few guests here in the Abbott Family Learning Center. I've always wanted to have my own talk show. I guess this is my one shot. During some of the years at All Things Wellington, we would look back toward the past and highlight activities and projects that had already happened. Or, for example, this past year, we might have highlighted that right before seasons were canceled, we had 3 seasons in a row with state championship teams or individuals. So it was an outstanding accomplishment. We also might look forward. We might start to think about where are we headed, what are some aspirations we have. But for this year, it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to focus on telling stories of the now. And because we have such a challenging year, the resilience, the reflection of all of our community members, we thought a perfect approach would be to really focus on students' well-being and the experiences they've had as they've navigated this year. The flow of the event will have some videos interspersed with live and special guests. And then we've taken special precautions, as we did during the video production, to make sure we've got our COVID protocols in place to keep everybody safe. What hasn't changed is this being a night to celebrate our community, to highlight the outstanding passion and commitment of our faculty, and to highlight the amazing and creative work of our students. The power of our community will really shine through. Through all of this, we want to make sure we keep our mission and values top of mind. And so first, our mission. We help students find their purpose and realize their potential for tomorrow's world. Let's break that down. So first, the purpose for students. What is their place in the world? Where do they feel like they can make a difference? And what makes them laugh? What makes them ask that next question? And then their potential. We each bring unique talent to the table, and Wellington will help each student discover their talent and also develop new talents and new interests. And then for tomorrow's world. We want students to be successful at Wellington, but most importantly, we want them to be successful when they leave Wellington, when they head to college and enter the workplace. And are they ready with the skills and attitudes that help them thrive in a changing world? Along with that, we lean on our core values of be curious, be yourself, be empathetic, be ambitious, and be responsible. Our videos are ordered to follow a natural hierarchy tonight. We'll have 3 videos. The first one is focused on inclusion and belonging. Then we'll shift into a story of our integrated curriculum. And then finally, a community, art, and pandemic story where we've really leaned heavily on the arts to navigate. We want to start with belonging because we know that each student and faculty member can do their best work when they feel safe and supported. When they know they're a valued member of the community and their voice matters, then they can really focus on the important thinking they need to do and not worry about stress or worry. Once the students know that this place is theirs and that their voice matters, then they can really lean in to take on new challenges and take new risks. They understand that even if they have a setback, that they'll be supported and safe. And then finally, as we start to look both inside and beyond ourselves, as we navigate this pandemic, we realize we're connected, and what sorts of things can we do and express to both navigate this by ourselves, but also as a part of a community. And so we'll look at how our community has responded through the arts. I hope you enjoy the evening. I hope it helps you understand our approach and that we value every voice, allowing each student to write their own story. And speaking of stories, I'd like to welcome our first guest, upper school student Sarum. Sarum has been involved in some really interesting courses this year. He has the Advertising the Environment course. He has independent science research. He's also participated on the varsity soccer team. And I think he really lights up most when he gets to do his creative digital productions. So welcome, Saram.
Thank you. Yeah, hello.
Hi there. Thank you so much for not only being here, but also for helping with our, I think it was a legit hype video that you made. Yeah. And I do need to thank you especially because you didn't include any of the drone footage from my awful field goal attempt during our fundraiser. So that, I owe you one for that.
Yeah.
As you got connected to this project and worked a little bit behind the scenes and also bring your own interest in filmmaking to the table, can you talk a little bit about how you got connected to the project and your journey through the upper school?
Yeah. For me, it was as simple as that my freshman year, I had a really nice interest in film and video. Through my art class in freshman year, I really wanted to, tell a story, but in a unique way. And that way for me was through visual arts and in specific video and photo. From there, it led me into creating a production company. It's called HT Productions. And I was able to, express my own emotions and different stories in different ways as well that, I could share out to the world. And it's something that I totally lose track of time when I'm doing, anytime I'm working on a project, I'm just sitting on a desk for hours. But it feels like minutes because, it's just something I truly enjoy. And obviously with All Things Wellington, with the hype video as well, that was just a lot of fun, giving back to that community and kind of, creating that story that our community has molded together and portraying that in an emotional way that all people can connect towards, something truly special.
Yeah, it was really special, and I was blown away by that video. And I've seen you do your work, and I think we talk about how when you allow students to dig into their areas of interest, they work hard. I'm not going to ask you if you've worked harder in this than anything else, but keep that in mind. But that there's a natural interest to just work really hard. And so It sounds like that's following for you. Mm-hmm. The first video we're going to watch is really focused on belonging.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what belonging means to you at Wellington?
Yeah. I've been here at Wellington since 3rd grade. And for me, ever since then, the community has just been a family to me. Giving back to the community is such a huge thing in my own mind that it helped me, in upper school, join student council. And being in student council for all the years I've been in high school was something that I was totally interested in and something I think that all my peers trusted me on. And it was, a lot of fun, but it was a nice way for me to create a more family-like experience for everyone, but also for me to give back to everyone as well. And, that type of belonging is just, something really unique and something really special to me. So
yeah, I agree. Well, thank you for all the work.
Of course.
Thank you for being here. Say hello to your brother.
All right.
Arham. Ask him if he's still pulling the arrow back or if he's actually launched
okay.
the arrow. He'll get what I'm talking about.
All right.
So thanks for being here, Sarm.
Yep.
All right. Our first video that we're going to watch highlights the story of inclusion and belonging. As we navigate this in our community, it's so important to leverage, I think 2 values come to mind on this one. Be empathetic, to try and see things from other people's perspective, and also be responsible. We all own some elements of this as we interact with one another. Embracing teaching and learning that works in a diverse community really has 3 main factors around it. First, it equips our students to be successful when they leave school. As I mentioned before, we want them to be successful beyond these walls. The world is a changing place, and making sure they really understand how to operate and collaborate and connect in a diverse world is absolutely critical. Also, working and learning in a diverse environment makes us smarter. We build that empathy. We start to try and understand the cognitive dissonance we experience, to understand our biases. And as we do that, we become better problem solvers. We become better at critical thinking. And so we develop empathy as a 21st century skill that's a must-have, not a nice-to-have. It's really important as we set students out that they develop those skills to have multiple perspectives. And finally, and probably most importantly, it starts with helping students feel safe and supported, as I mentioned before. Once you feel that this is your place, now you're willing to step out farther. We want students to be ambitious. So to be able to do that, to know you might have some failure, you have to be working from a position of confidence that you are safe and supported. So belonging is absolutely at the core of that. So with that, I want to make sure that we've got students in a position where they're supported, where they build resilience, and ultimately then as they push through challenges, they get that unflappable optimism. And I know you knew that I was going to mention unflappable optimism tonight because it can tie us all together. So we also want to highlight that this is a process. Along this journey, there is no finish line. This video captures some very important steps in that journey. I'm really proud to introduce this first video that's focused on inclusion and belonging at Wellington. Enjoy.
Say the first time that I heard about Dear Wellington was from one of my friends. We were on FaceTime and it just kind of happened to come up, and she said, "Have you heard about Dear Wellington?" And I was like, "No, I don't even know what she's talking about." She sent me like a screenshot of one of the posts, and I read it, and I had to keep reading it. I think Dear Wellington is really just giving a voice to the student body. Because before that, we really had nothing to tell everybody what we were feeling or what we were going through. It kind of gave every single student a voice without having them say exactly who they are.
I'm pretty sure their first posts were around end of June, early July, and I know we instantly started talking to each other about it, and I'm assuming a couple of us shared stories to it. I know I did.
At a PWI, a predominantly white institution like Wellington, it's important to share the experience of minorities, not just Black people, but gender identity and sexual harassment.
It kind of gave us this talk that we all needed to have, but nobody really wanted to start. So we had this talk without having to have that like uncomfortable face-to-face conversation.
It was really great that Wellington acknowledged the account, and I think Dear Wellington started a movement within the community to make Wellington a more equitable place.
It was kind of a little bit of a shock because how we've been trained socially is just kind of to keep it hush. If something has happened to you, to just move on, you know, grow up about it.
I think Wellington did a really nice job of partnering with the administrators of that account to both say, we understand that this space is needed. We are not going to, unlike other schools, immediately shut it down, to say that those experiences are not valid, even if they are not the greatest things that we want to hear. They're contradictory to what we believe. And then to partner and say, that doesn't have to be the ending spot for them.
Curriculum needs to give our kids a glimpse into the world. Sometimes it's a window, and you're seeing perspectives you've never seen and thought about. And other times, it's a mirror. You have to see yourself in that curriculum.
Female Students of Color was started about 2 years ago by some alumni, and they just wanted there to be a space for female students of color at Wellington to come and just be able to talk through any thoughts we might have about certain experiences that we've had at Wellington or outside Wellington, and also kind of that inner mentor program for upperclassmen to kind of mentor underclassmen on just how to navigate being a student of color at Wellington.
Racism, it's a bias, and it's something that people are necessarily taught as growing up. I am currently in the class of race and identity, and it kind of helps to express growing up. I am currently in the class of race and identity, and it kind of helps to explain to people like what exactly racism is, how it's affecting everyone, and how we can like work to move past it.
Courageous Conversations is a protocol framework that allows people to kind of dive into, engage, sustain, and deepen dialogues between individuals around the topic of race.
We use something called serial testimony, which is an opportunity to create a democracy of time. We actually use a timer and give everybody the same amount of time to respond. SEED is different from other professional growth opportunities in terms of DE&I because it's more personal. Participants get a chance to delve more into their own biases, their own journey, their own work. They can kind of go at their own pace to some extent.
We've started the school year with 10th graders by going over that protocol with them. So Craig and I and Catherine do that together so that when they're in the classroom, they can start to engage in that courageous conversation. We all have common terminologies. So by staying engaged, we remind them at the beginning of class, let's remember, stay engaged, speak your truth, experience discomfort, and expect and accept non-closure.
GSA, also known as Gay Strain Alliance, and it's just kind of a place for people to open up and be who they are. And I think GSA, it's kind of like a safe haven for people.
Not only do we talk about Black voices during the month of February, as the nation does, but we have done and continue to do is incorporating those quote-unquote other voices in history and other voices or experiences into the curriculum. We currently offer African American history as well as a separate set of electives, which we're hoping can incorporate into our history program a little more. And then I take that lens a little further in the theater. I offer on theater history.
And back home,
remember our force, we drive it up on the diagonal and power. So, being in school in a pandemic, having the events that sparked the Black Lives Matter protests continually happen, and just being in an environment that is uncertain. Not only does the school just need an injection of joy, taking this time and saying, hey, we see you, we hear you, and good God, we want to celebrate you in this time.
How do we get kids to speak their truth, to engage, to sit in discomfort, to know that having non-closure is the norm, you know? But at the end, we're all Jags. We all are here, you know, we're humans who are taking care of each other. And how can we be hard on ideas, but soft on people?
So often with Black History Month, we're focusing on the struggle that has happened instead of the celebration of great things. So shifting that lens, I really love that. I love that they've decided to expand the time period, so it's not just February. It starts on MLK Day and runs all the way through February, giving it a little more time and giving the faculty the opportunity to think, how can I contribute to this too? I said, like, why am I not doing something at the start of all of my classes? So I've started to pick out pieces from novels, poems, things like that, to just read right at the beginning of my class starting next week.
For any of us individually as well as Wellington collectively, diversity, inclusion, equity, these are not things that we check off on a list and say we're done. It is work that continues, and I expect it to continue for the rest of my life.
We're not alone. We've got allies. We've got people who are stepping up to the charge and saying, you know what, take a break. I got this.
We have a space that kids feel safe to be able to talk about issues that they really need to talk about.
I want to believe that the students we come in contact with, the students we teach this protocol with, that and practice and engage, right? Somewhere down the line, in some way, it's going to create change in society.
Remember all those nice things I said about Sarum? Well, his behind-the-scenes work clearly had some issues. Actually, he had nothing to do with this. We've got some technical issues. We'll continue to work on that on the back end, and we'll try to refine those, the video quality. And know that we have links to those videos that we'll send out, and we'll all be able to watch them again. They're wonderful, wonderful to experience, and so we'll make sure everybody has the top opportunity to do that. Every time I see that video, I'm just so moved and impressed by the stories of the students. They really opened my eyes to new perspectives, and I want to especially thank Trinity Scott for letting us into her world of dance. She did such a wonderful job, and I'm just so proud of the students and the stories that they shared. One of the really wonderful outcomes of the work of the Wellington team this year has been our commitment to get students back on campus. The students bring their energy, their optimism, and while we're also staying connected to those learning from home, I cannot adequately describe how much it means to me on a daily basis to be able to have the luxury to be in the company of our students. Wellington is our students. They embody our values. Be curious, be ambitious, every day in every way. And with that, I'm very excited to welcome our next guest, first grader Layla. Layla loves to read. She brings positive energy and passion to learn every day. She brightens my day every morning when she walks by and greets me. She gives a vibrant smile, and even behind that mask, I know what's going on. So I'm so excited that Layla's joining us today. So, Layla, what has school been like for you this year?
Well, a little differenter than last year. We've had like a little change of space because we've got to be 6 feet and we've got to wear a mask. We can't be touching our friends a lot. And so there's a lot that has been changed, but it's still Wellington. It's still the Wellington that I love. And we have just had more change of like what we can do because we can't touch like most, and sometimes we have to change like rooms for like specials, like French used to be in a different room, but now it's in our classroom. So is music, because it got the music room has been donated to some a classroom.
So we had to kind of donate and share our spaces,
Yep.
right? And try and figure this out. Did you ever happen to have? I think I saw music outside. Did that happen? Did you ever go outside for music? I think I saw some of those.
Yeah,
places
we've
outside.
Went outside for music.
That's awesome.
Like in the tent.
Yes, we had those
That they
tents.
used to have out, but now they moved them because it's winter,
It's
and
winter.
you don't want
Now
to
we
be
have
sitting
snow.
in
We
snow.
went sledding. That was amazing.
Oh my God, the sledding hills are amazing.
The best. Did you see me sled? I went down. Did you? You might have pushed me. No.
I don't know. Yeah,
All right,
I think I was way before you.
In our next video, we're going to learn about how in our classrooms we let students sort of pursue their interests and really study things they're really interested in. Can you think of things in first grade that you've been able to study that are in your interests?
Well, we've been studying Black people, and race, and I've been able to learn about like Rosa Parks and some Black men and Black women that have changed the world.
That's really cool. If you had to just pick one word to describe Wellington, what would that word be?
Awesome.
I support that. And you know what else, Layla?
What?
You're pretty awesome. Because each day you do make me so ready to start the day when I see you walk in. So thank you for everything you bring to Wellington each day, okay? Our next video will actually dig into our integrated curriculum. And what we love about that, it can lead to really powerful outcomes as we have disciplines that overlap. And that provides students the opportunities to see challenges from different perspectives and to understand how the different components of learning sort of fit together. They also have agency and autonomy, so they're able to dig into areas of their own interest. We find their engagement goes through the roof, where they want to ask more questions and do more of the work. By having a really diverse curriculum, I think in the upper school the last few years there have been almost 140 different offerings, and our curriculum in general is designed to try and develop those provocations and develop inquiry so that each student wants to learn more. The ability to ask questions is a really important aspect of our model, and also then draw those connections across disciplines. What happens in your brain as the disciplines collide is you light up different parts of your brain, you get this complementary learning, where you're more likely to retain the concepts you've learned because they connect in different ways in your memory. And so we know that integrated learning allows you to see challenges and problems from a whole new perspective. So that's key to our role. So I hope you enjoy this next video on integrated learning.
my relationship with Mr. Neely, who's the advisor of the Apiary Club. At first, it did start out, it was a little awkward. I mean, I've never really told an adult what to do before. It was a little funny in the beginning. But I think over time, we built a really nice relationship. I mean, it's a give and take now. We both have our opinions on things, and we voice that, and what we should do with the hives and what's best for them, whether we should wrap them or not for the winter. Started originally just with the student wanting to do something cool and a teacher being supportive with it.
It's been kind of amazing watching the bees this year.
Since just when they were in their package, like we knew that like they were so little, and now they're in so many just boxes and they weigh so much.
Yeah.
One of our core principles is always focused on student engagement. And we define that as students that are challenged but loving it. And one of the things we found that associates with high engagement is autonomy. And so giving students the ability to make choices about the kinds of things they study, the kinds of questions they ask. And so we've got a core principle that students should always be at the center of the learning.
They're so versatile with what they can do.
When they work together so well, they really can get a lot done.
You know, you got the nurse bee, you got the foragers, you got the defenders. It's crazy.
The recent project we had with the installation of the beehives. Student apiarist, which is somebody who studies bees, brought the idea to me to say, hey, could we have a beehive? And we talked about why would that be important to them, and they wanted to take leadership in helping our community understand the importance of bees in the ecosystem, and then go through the process of getting that set up. The message that sends to a student that their voice matters, that they have some autonomy and agency in the work they're doing, really powers their interest to then go farther. We know the most successful entrepreneurs, the most successful CEOs ask a lot of questions. One of the really interesting things that research shows is that from about the age of 6 on, students ask fewer questions. We want to turn that on its head.
A lot of what we do in the classroom is child-led. So if my children come to me with an interest, say maybe they noticed an ant on the playground and they were all gathered around it and talking about, I wonder where the ant lives. You know, teachers have to do a lot of observing to understand what their kids' interests are. That led to lots of questions. You know, what about ants? Where do they live? What do they eat? The environment should be reflective of the students' interests and who they are. It's also a learning tool for them.
Do you remember what we tried with our rice yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. Today I want you to try to do it yourself. We'll see if our sound waves can make the rice move as well.
We're not saying, here's our question, find the answer. We're saying, what is the next question you need to ask, and then where are you going to find those answers?
Post and have a caption and send it to whoever runs the main Wellington page?
Actually, what might be better for the social media is to just collaborate with communications. My background is in biochemistry, and one of the things I learned there is that very rarely are disciplines siloed. And so we've already integrated our science curriculum here at Wellington. For example, Keith and I are teaching a class that borders between science and English. We have other classes that are co-taught with teachers that are in the departments of history and English. And there's a third class, our advanced neuroscience class, which is being taught by a history teacher and our biology teacher. We have sustainability art, literature, and the environment, sustainability advertising the environment, and sustainability, the application of chemistry. Those three courses can be taken together. And in fact, this year we have one student, Joshua, who is taking all three of those courses and essentially building himself a Wellington minor in the discipline of sustainability.
Wellington strives to do a cross-curricular learning experience when it comes to some of their trimester classes. So in the upper school, we have so many options to do a variety of classes. Even if you have no idea anything about them, you can really kind of go into it and learn something new. I kind of came up with the idea and career path of public health before I started taking these sustainability classes. They kind of mix together in an unusually cohesive way because people were wearing masks in places because of pollution before all the pandemic happened. So it's obviously a problem. And it's also a public health crisis when we're inhaling air that is not necessarily up to standard.
Students gather together in groups and they use this agile methodology to essentially release products, advertisements each week, and by the end of the course they've produced 12 different projects that inform the entire school community about climate change and our use of materials.
If we look back at art through history, looking at things, landscapes and nature has always been a common theme, that our surroundings, our environment. You know, more recently, it's become a tool for advocacy and activism.
You have to focus on what you're seeing, not what you think that you're seeing, not what you think of different things in nature looking like, but you need to focus on what is in front of you, because your brain, you can't trust it. It's not going to show you what you're seeing. It's going to show you what you want to see or what you think you're seeing. A beehive is the animal. A bee by itself is not really capable of surviving, certainly not capable of thriving.
No, there's something so grounding about just being able to be with them. You know, especially with like how their emotions shift, and you can really hear that in the way that they're waiting.
All the bees are together, each one of them has a specific role, and each one of them is vital. They are important, and they create the animal.
I miss that smell.
All I had was you.
Each bee is individual in its own self, but it's all working for one common goal, which is to keep the hive alive, which is kind of how a school is working. You know, they're all working to make sure the student has a good enough education so that they can be a good part of society.
We're all part of a community. We're part of a hive, and even though we've been separated a lot this year, we've managed to stay together.
All the nectar and all that good food will be out, so then
being able to rely on the hive and to find the resources you need in that community that you know supports you, that is safe, that will help you get to that next level.
It's amazing how they function in such a way that it is more like an organism than it is an individual bee.
As I watch the students in that video, I'm always struck by the secondary outcomes we get from student ownership. You see so much self-advocacy and also the elements of communication and just how you have to work together, and whether that's students working with adults or students working with each other. Ownership builds so many skills. Again, that'll help serve students well beyond the walls of Wellington. Education isn't just about acquiring knowledge. It's also about using knowledge. And students work harder when they care more. And so speaking of students that care a lot and work really hard, I'm really excited to be joined by our next guest. Maxwell is an 8th grader. And just so you're aware, Maxwell has taken both the constitutional law dive class and also the debating dive class. So I think he's ready to take on any difficult questions. I'm ready to really hit it hard. So, hello Maxwell. If you would please share a little bit about your experience in middle school and with your peers as you've navigated this crazy pandemic year.
Of course. Thanks for having me, Dr. Terwin.
Sure.
I think the first challenge that all of us faced going into the spring and this year was how are we going to stay connected during the COVID-19 pandemic, and that solution was Zoom, and I guess more specifically in morning meetings. And one of the things we would do was our good news section, where first we would talk about global good news and how the world was still staying positive in these trying times. And then after which we would talk about local good news, which would highlight the achievements of our middle school students and just how they were staying positive and how they could share ideas of how everyone else could stay positive.
That's really great. And I think in our community we see the influence of students and how powerful that voice is with their peers. And so can you also talk a little bit about your role in the 8th grade leadership team and some of the leadership elements that you've been able to bring to the table to help support the community?
Of course. So during my time being an 8th grade leader, we've really focused on two things. Those being, firstly, to really stay connected as a Wellington community, and secondly, to really stay positive during the COVID situation. And one of the things we did to try to stay connected was we held an art contest right before winter break, where all these students from the middle school came together and submitted a whole bunch of art pieces just to really show what they loved about the winter and how they could still be positive about the current situation. And it was really neat to see all the wonderful things that people submitted. And another thing we did to try and stay positive was we had a little activity called Positive Peepers, where we would give students these little fake glasses, obviously. And the idea was that they would put on the glasses, and then with that, they would see the world through a new positive lens. And that really helped give students individuality, and we wanted to really give them a voice and make sure that COVID can never really take those away.
I wondered who was behind those positive peepers. Now I know. But part of what we learned is the power of mindset, right? Like how you see a situation and how optimistic you might be about tackling that situation. So that concept of those positive peepers is really, really great. And thanks for doing that. Would you be willing to introduce the next video?
Certainly.
Thank you.
So in this next video, we will see how students and faculty and how they've used art to really stay connected over the duration of COVID-19. And I think that's something that we can all really appreciate.
Thank you, Meg.
Can you see yourself in here, Milo? Yeah? I was really nervous over the summer. I lost a lot of sleep wondering, what is this school year going to look like? How are we going to do this? We are going to draw a picture of just your face. Do you remember what that's called?
A self-portrait.
A self-portrait, you're right. What do you see in your mirror? Okay, there's a lot going on in the world right now, and how do these really young learners process what's going on?
First, I'm going to head.
Okay, so you're going to draw your head. Ooh, that's a great circle that you made for your face. really small children are capable of really big feelings. We value the process over the product, and it's really a time for children to explore materials, colors, textures. Most of all, it's just fun. But in that moment, they're able to connect how they're feeling with their artistic expression. Oh, what is this that you're drawing?
The mask.
Mask. When they're doing self-portraits, they're including their mask. And when we ask about it, you know, they're quick to say, "Oh, I wear my mask because it keeps me safer. It keeps my friends and family safe." Why do you have a mask on? Why do we wear a mask? To keep our germs from our friends. Yeah, you did very good. I am impressed every single day with the resilience of these children. Perfect, buddy. Give me a high five. That looks wonderful. Lots of details. We're really helping children learn to identify what they're feeling.
Processing all of these events that have unfolded between COVID and the Black Lives Matter. As an educator, a big part of what I value is connecting with the community here. To some extent, everyone with the pandemic, you think about your family, things going on at home, and how to process grief and loss and change.
Having forms of art like writing, visual art, music to express yourself, it can not only help you through hard times, but it can also allow you to investigate the conflict and realize what it means to you.
Everybody understood that they had a voice and a presence to help us all get through this and use their lens and their perspective to contribute in a way that helps us.
When it comes to art, I say more so focused in fiber art and textiles and craft. Last year, I left the pandemic. Both my grandparents passed. It was just a really rough time for me and my family. So just trying to process that was really rough. But I'm very lucky to be able to be an artist and a writer now. I have this incredible privilege to be able to just sit with those emotions, make things out of them. Right here, this is a lino cut that I made, my grandma's house. Because we were all there sort of when the pandemic started. Because my grandma, she was already in the hospital then, so we were just all trying to get there to see her. Because of circumstances, it was just really hard that was why we were there. We don't call it grandma's house anymore. We say 6404 because that's the address. So it's sort of everything that I felt about that year and everything was really important because this sort of happened at the house. So with this print as well, because this print is of cardinals. Both days after we buried my grandma and my grandpa, we saw cardinals in the backyard, and it's really comforting to see them. So sort of that's how I processed last year with, at least with my art.
This was all pre-pandemic, and right here you can see when the pandemic began. I was really just trying to pass the time because I couldn't leave the house. This was a specific time when I was feeling very stressed out about the pandemic, and I was just shocked at how calm my parents were when I was overwhelmed with how serious and real the pandemic was getting. Art was a way for me to process that visually because words are difficult. They're difficult to articulate, and with mental health you can't really say, where it hurts. For me, it was a way of expressing myself when I didn't know how to say what I wanted to say.
art is a visual form of communication. It's a human expression, and it's a form of therapy. It's a way to bring people together.
When it comes down to it, art is probably our most effective tool in early childhood. Some of our kids at this age are still developing their language skills. So art gives them an outlet that they can express themselves.
We have had to keep our distance from the ones we love. They say time is an illusion. If it is, it's an extremely good one. We have had to hide our smiles under cotton. We have had to make art out of isolation. We learn about ourselves. We learn about others. We're moving together.
Such a beautiful video built around such a challenging topic. The visuals, the music, thank you so much, Sabrina, and the spoken word from Lou really capture the moment and provide some needed context and inspiration as we look forward toward brighter days ahead. These stories have highlighted that perhaps there has never been a more important time for a school like Wellington, where connections, autonomy, agility have all been leveraged to create meaningful and authentic learning for all of our students. I've never been more proud to be a part of a community. And although I know there's plenty more work to be done, I do want to honor this moment and celebrate the outstanding work that all of our faculty and students have accomplished throughout this year, and also pulling together all this information tonight. So, round of applause around the Columbus region. I'm so honored to work alongside each and every one of you. I am now pleased to introduce Lori Beth Sweeney, our Chief Experience Officer, who joined me here. And LB, maybe you could start by talking about the power of our community and how that's been harnessed to get through this pandemic.
I think, Jeff, without a doubt, we can both agree there's no way we would be where we are this far into the year and have accomplished as much as we have together without this community. I would not have gone through this moment with another one, and I'm so sincerely grateful for each and every one of you. I want to take a moment as we reflect on the stories from tonight to thank our colleagues. A lot of fun, brave, energetic folks have woke up every day and walked into this building with us and done their very best to make an otherwise dark year really incredible and bright for some young people. And really thrilled to call you our colleagues and just grateful for what you've done for our students.
I agree.
Also want to thank our parents for choosing us, for trusting us. It's such a big commitment to choose an educational partner for your kids and your family, and it takes even more trust to do it in a year like this. And I think we just want a moment to say thank you. We understand the commitment you've made to us, and we're grateful and proud to be here with you. And I also, of course, want to thank our donors. We have been able to be open on site safely every day since September. And we would not have been able to do that if it weren't for the generous philanthropic support of this community. You have helped us to install the devices in our classrooms that have let us offer a bidirectional experience. So those families who felt safer staying home and learning from their kitchen tables and living rooms have been able to do so and stay connected with us, stay connected with our community. As donors, you helped us to support some families who were really hard hit during the early onset of the pandemic, and you reached out for each other. You pulled each other along. You made sure there wasn't a family that had to leave our doors because their life got rattled financially during this. Wellington, you're very special, and we're really grateful for you. And I think just want to have a moment to let you know how much we appreciate you. Also a shout out to our volunteers, to the parent connectors who planned the pre-party tonight. And hope you got a chance to see each other. We miss so much getting to see your faces at all of the events, and we hope that tonight you were all able to connect with each other and at least get to see each other's faces for a little bit. We just could not have done this without you, Wellington. We're so grateful you're with us.
Very, very well said. I agree with that sentiment, and thank you for sharing it. I know there's ways, we've talked about stories and how important the stories are here.
Yeah.
I think there's new ways that we'll be inviting and sharing more stories from our community. So can you talk a little more about that?
Sure. So tonight, Wellington, you're in for a treat. We are launching something pretty cool tonight. It is our new stories platform. And so what we've done is just take a moment to realize, especially in these last couple of months when our worlds have kind of paused, to realize how important stories are to the way we connect with each other, and how important the connection of those stories is to reminding us that we really belong to each other. And we belong to a long line of jaguars. We belong to a long line of stories. There are stories on this platform that talk of, some parents who just had enough guts to get together in a living room and say, I want more, I want different for my kids, and had the guts to launch a school. There are stories of alums who came, decades before our 2020 and 21 graduates, and they have taken the time to share their stories, and there are also even some stories from our current students. So especially to the alums and the founders and the folks who have joined us tonight who knew Wellington way back when, we certainly hope that you'll take a look at it and see how much we pull your stories with us even now. And just hope that all of you will take a moment to kind of look through the stories and perhaps even consider adding one of your own.
Yeah, I love that we get that full cross-section of all the elements of the community, that we can still connect with our founders, and someone like Layla can come in and tell her stories as well. So it's just a great opportunity. Thank you for helping to pull that together. Well, I want to close out by reiterating the mission, of course. I hope as you've watched the videos that you've seen it sort of come to life in all the different stories. So we help students find their purpose and realize their potential for tomorrow's world. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We will be sharing out links to those videos so that you can enjoy them in their entirety. And have a great night, and go Jags.